I wanted to know what Dark Lord you guys would serve given the chance.
You can see why people follow him. I don't think I was ever convinced by a Sith character.
All of your negative emotions, like anxiety,
That's true.
could transfer over into having more
Into
Sith
power.
power.
Yeah, you'd be powerful.
That's a good power.
You would be a god.
Unlimited power.
That's true. I could, yeah.
Good.
Welcome to your last podcast, the last podcast in the game, but the first you should listen to. I'm your host, Colton Simpson. And with me this week, he's our resident audiophile, William Ham Clark.
Hey.
And joining me on this end of the table, it's the amazing Grace Tatigian.
Hello, hello.
And last but certainly not least, it's Mr. Listen himself, Josh Vey.
What he had?
So what is your last podcast? We're a conversational podcast where every week each of us brings a topic of conversation to argue amongst ourselves and talk it out for your amusement. If you like that, subscribe to the podcast feed to make sure you never miss a new episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're feeling a bit generous, you can always support the show on patreon.com/yourlastpodcast. And with all that out of the way, Josh,
Yes.
what's your topic?
Okay, so my topic for this week is sort of bridging on something that I really noticed kind of kicked off last week. And it is all the hype and talk about this fucking Momo challenge.
The what?
The Momo challenge. So, I like, don't get me wrong. I understand your confusion because I did not know like what that was either. So I had to do a little bit of research, but I've just heard a lot of hype about it online. You know, places like Reddit, Facebook is full of it. CBC had a couple of articles out, and it was a huge deal, like right middle of last week, right? And essentially, it was screeching that children were participating in suicide games via like YouTube videos and hidden messages inside the kids section of YouTube, right? So that piqued my interest. Like right away, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Because there was a tagline for Peppa the Pig, and like, "Oh, you watches it, do you? Yeah, you watches it." So
I've seen a few episodes of Peppa
okay, well, be
Pig.
fucking careful because apparently there are like some hidden instructions inside some of these videos. So, for example, in one Peppa the Pig video, there was like a slitting the wrists scene. Yes, I know. Slitting the wrist scene right in the middle of the video hidden away. And, of course, you know what it's like. Parents just fucking fire the iPad at the youngster. Watch whatever you want. It'll shut you up long enough for me to have a beer and relax or whatever, right? You know what I mean? So they weren't paying attention to what these kids were doing.
And just for clarification, this is on YouTube, right? Like not on, obviously, the broadcast going out on TV.
So from what I'm aware of, from what I read, it's on YouTube's kids section, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is supposed to filter out all that bullshit. So just with that in mind, I had to investigate a little bit and try to fucking scrum up some more information on this. And when I started Wikipedia and like, Momo, where did it come from? What does it mean? It's actually based on, because if you've seen the picture, it's a very disturbed looking picture. Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's terrifying.
So it's like a distorted bird woman. That's the only way I can describe it. And it looks fucked. Like it looks like something you'd see like out of a horror movie. Like
It'll probably be the thumbnail of this video.
It is fucking scary. So anyways, through a little bit of reading, I found out that the word Momo is a Japanese word for what they call an umbe, which is a spirit, which is like a nefarious spirit. And the legend goes, the legend of the umbe, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but the umbe in Japan is like a mythological creature that steals children, and the longer that she has them, the heavier they get until they turn into fucking rocks and stones, and then they give them back to the parents. So I was like, what the fuck, right? Like, that is terrifying. So with that in mind, I went sort of back and tried to like understand what's going on with the Momo challenge. And apparently you can sign up through WhatsApp.
Yeah, it's through WhatsApp. So I played a little bit ignorant at the beginning, but I've only heard about it. It was last week when you kind of proposed this topic that I did any reading at all on it. And yeah, it seems to be a challenge brought on through WhatsApp. You kind of add this random number, and it's like I guess it's just a program or some sort of algorithm. It just sends you instructions on what to do to play along with this game. So it'll give you instructions like wake up at 3 a.m. and message us. And then when you message them, they'll give you more instructions. And eventually they just get weirder and weirder and resulting in like self-harm, and then ultimately they try and make the kid commit suicide, right? Yeah.
And they say it's based off the same allure. Like, why the fuck would anyone want to do that, right? But it's based off the same thing as like when we were growing up, run in your bathroom and say Bloody Mary 3 times with the lights fucking off. Even though like I was shit-baked that she was actually going to be there, I still fucking went and did it because everyone else did it and it had that spooky allure.
You got to.
You got to do it. Oh, yeah. But it's the type of thing where it was like, I was reading through it and I was thinking, this is far more insidious than anything I ever came across. Like any fucking chain letter, anything like that when we were growing up. This is actually legit scary, right? Because imagine getting a FaceTime with the Momo challenge on it and then that distorted bird face. My Jesus, you fired a fucking phone at the fucking window as hard as you could, right?
Yeah, especially as a kid. I mean, like I find the image itself pretty disturbing. I mean, I'm 26, you know, if I was like a 6-year-old kid, it'd be terrifying, right? Yeah. When I did a bit of reading up on it, apparently like kind of how it came to popularity was a story in St. Clair. So anyways, it was about like a mother
Point
of
Clair? You're talking about
Point Clair,
Point Clair,
not
okay.
St. Clair,
All
sorry.
right.
Point
West
Clair.
Island represent.
Yeah, like it was back in Montreal somewhere. Yeah, and it was Point Clair. Anyways, it was about a mother she has 4 kids and she just came across it and her kids were playing it or something. So I don't think there's actually been too many actually researched instances where like a kid's actually like hurt themselves or killed themselves. I think they said there was maybe 2, but the articles I was reading, whenever they chase it down, it kind of wound up being like a sort of an urban legend, like, you know, Slender Man or some of the other stories.
But he don't call you.
No.
Which is a definitive fucking difference. And that was the only real part that caught my attention right away was, fuck, there is a contact. Like there's a whole like relationship that develops between either this program or this person, allegedly.
Yeah,
right?
I would say it has to be a program considering how many kids are actually playing it, right? Or presumably how many kids are playing it. I mean, if it's actually a big issue. I mean,
what kind of person does that is sort of what I was leading into with this. Like, what kind of warped fuck goes out and creates a program like that to have anything to do with children?
The same type of people that create the, you know, Nigerian prince who's going to give you $2 million, so you respond to them and give them some information so they can steal your identity. Or
well, them
it's a
along
phishing
with the
scam,
Momo people should be lined up and shot. As far as I'm concerned, do away with that shit because we don't need any more skullduggery like that in our society.
When I was reading up on it, it did seem to be just a big phishing scam, or that's what a lot of like technological experts kind of assumed. There, like I said, it didn't seem to be an actual story in terms of like, it wasn't like an epidemic. There wasn't all these kids like offing themselves or anything. It just seemed to be something that was kids would try and then send the message on like, oh, well, I heard about this kid a couple states over that killed himself from it. And, you know, so it kind of just spread that way. I think it was like a viral ghost story.
Sure. Yeah. What about you guys? Like Ham, Grace, have you ever had like a chain letter or anything like that that sort of freaked you out or intimidated you into click and share, or back in the day licking that stamp and firing her in the box? Like anything like that?
No, I don't buy that shit, but like it interests me like when people like put out like the like curse letters talking like, you know, like if you don't share this you'll get like 10 years of bad luck or you'll live a miserable life. You know, all that stuff.
What do you find interesting about it?
Just people are gullible enough
like
to
like
go
the
for
zealot
it.
mentality of people, just to be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go and blindly follow this because why take a chance, right?
That, and I just think the gambling with like maybe I actually get cursed is like kind of fun.
Well, that's fucked, Ham, but okay. Yeah. All right. Very good.
Classic Ham response there.
I know it's what you're watching on YouTube this evening. What about you, Grace? Anything?
So I don't know much about the Momo topic. When you first brought it up, I did a quick search, and the first thing that came up was what parents need to know about the Momo challenge. I got about halfway through the article before something else came up and I had to stop reading. But
I think I was reading the same article.
Yeah, it very well could be, you know, for the first, like, I don't know, I'm going to say like 200 words had absolutely nothing to do with anything, and it wasn't entirely helpful, which is probably why I got distracted. But talking about like the chain letters and stuff like that, like I remember I used to get a ton of those when I was a kid, like back at my old Hotmail address, stuff like that. Not necessarily the bad ones, but a lot, like not like someone will come and murder you in your bed. There's those every once in a while. But I think anyone I knew me well enough to not send me those because I knew I would never sleep again. But I definitely got a lot of, if you don't forward this to, 97 people, then you'll never meet the love of your life and stuff like that. And definitely, 14-year-old Grace was terrified that, that would happen. So of course sent those on.
Why take a chance, right?
Well, right? Like why take them off? But I got a lot of the ones that was, oh, I bet you can't find the one in this list of eyes. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Scrolling through like the kind of challenge ones. Like now you see things like that shared on Facebook all the time.
They were all over Facebook probably a good year or two ago. I remember that, like with emojis, I don't know, all these like happy faces and one frown face. And, if
exactly.
you find it, share it,
Do you remember the scary stories section of Ultimate Guitar?
Yes,
Guitar Tabs?
yes.
Where if it said like, you read this big long story, it'd be sort of spooky, and then it'd say right at the end, okay, I want you to take the first and last letter of every sentence, add it up, and blah, blah, blah. Or first letter of every paragraph, and you add it up, and it says, don't look behind you, and your arsehole fucking opens up, and you shoot your drawers, right?
That was a really good forum. I only discovered that when I was, I don't know, probably like 14, 15. Yeah, that was a really good forum. But in terms of the chain letters, like I remember a couple of them in the early days of MSN, you'd get it, and it'd be like, you have to send this to 10 people within the next 3 hours. Otherwise, this will be in your room. And it was always like, I don't know, a picture of like Reagan.
The girl from the Ring.
Yeah, I was going to say Reagan from The Exorcist. There was always something like that, right? It was always a really scary picture. I also remember like a mini clip game that was a maze. I don't know if you guys remember this, but you had to navigate to the end of the maze. And when you got to the close, it was a very narrow section. So you had to really lean in close to the computer. And as soon as you get close to the end, The Exorcist face pops up, just screams at you. And it was like a viral game that you had to just share around.
That was great.
I wonder what the point of those emails are, like those chain letters. Is it just to gather emails? Is that the only point of it? Like where do they originate from? And is it just to gather people's emails?
You know what? I don't even know if there's that much thought behind some of them. At least like I'm thinking back to there were also some that really had no point. Some of them had, I know my parents still to this day get like those forwarded emails that have like jokes in them and stuff like that. Like people are still sending these things. And I don't think the information ever gets back to the person who started it. Like how could it if you're just forwarding on going forward? Like unless you put something in the email, if you're some computer whiz and you have some kind of tracking thing in there, but then what do you do with that information? Like
it just seems like too good an opportunity to waste. Like even based on what he said, just the way the world is, I feel like whoever is plugging that out, if you're going to invest that much time to creating that kind of horse shit, you're going to want to be fishing for something and get something.
And even if it's just like some sick person that just wants to like talk to children or something, right? There's some weird thing there with it. I feel like it must be for phishing though. It must be just for getting like your parents' credit card information or trying to get your last name or where you live or something like that. There must be something nefarious behind there, I'd say.
Or just selling your information to Google.
Well, it could be selling it as well. I don't know about to Google exactly. I feel like they already got all of our information, but
that's true.
Yes, there has to be something there with it.
True. Yeah, 100%. But anyways, that was pretty much my thoughts on the Momo challenge. Just kind of wanted to bring it up because it was a bit of a relevant topic that's been on the go for the better part of a week, maybe longer. I don't know. It just sort of came into my vision over the last week. But
I was shocked with just how long it's been around for. Like I said, that article from, what was it, Point Claire. Point Claire was from back in September, like September 28th. And then there was articles from back in early 2018. And I mean, usually I would assume Ham and I would be pretty turned on to like the internet side of things. Like if there was something going viral, like I would assume like PewDiePie or some big channel would cover it. And I didn't see anything about it. And then when you pointed it out to us last week, it was just everywhere. Like it was very easy for me to find things on. It was just hidden. I didn't see anything about it. So
maybe where it's like young kids, it's like hidden to them talking amongst themselves, which is really fucking weird. But
we're just too old. We're not cool anymore.
Yeah. So anyways, that sums up Momo. I think I've kind of covered all the bases on that. So I'll toss it over to Grace there now. What do you got there, Grace?
Okay. So I was going to say not such a funny topic. Usually we have a couple funny topics, but I don't know what you guys are going to answer to this, so it could very well be funny. Mine was the best advice you've ever been given. And that's something because I think about the best advice I was ever given on a regular basis. It was given to me by my grade 9 English teacher. Ms. Nadler is definitely not watching this, but she's fantastic. Just published her first book, which is very exciting.
Congrats.
Yes. She was my grade 9 English teacher, but she gave me this advice at the end of grade 10 when I was looking to register for my grade 11 courses. And I was really bummed because I wasn't going to be able to take any of the fun courses because I was like, oh, I got to register for physics. I got to register for chemistry, all of these science courses that I had absolutely no interest in taking. So I'm sitting there in the art room stressing, and she was also an art teacher. And so she comes by and asks me what I'm working on, and I tell her, and she says, well, why do you have to take these courses? And I said, well, I have to keep my doors open. She said, what's the point of keeping doors open if you don't want to walk through them? And it was the best advice I have ever been given. And I think about it all the time. And honestly, that advice.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. I don't know if we got those.
It's like the Marianas Trench, for Christ's sake.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
But that advice literally changed my life because instead of registering for physics and chemistry, which I would have failed horribly, I registered for art and Italian, and I got the best grades in the school for both of those courses. I went on to do English diploma at the local cégep, did incredibly well there. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have come to Newfoundland to pursue this. And that's something that I think about all the time. And it's just been really, really good advice for me. So I just figured that might be something. You guys might have good advice. You might have funny advice that you
A
want to share.
testament to the Montreal education system.
Yeah, really.
Sure as shit never got that back home, that's for sure.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, no, so that's just something that I remind myself. And oftentimes I find I have to remind other people of too, if they're, pushing themselves to do something that they don't want to be doing. I say, basically, are you keeping these doors open because you want to walk through them or because someone else is telling you that? So yeah. All right. How about you, Colton? You look intimidated now.
I am intimidated. I mean, like I said, before we started, I was like, I don't know if I actually have any advice to share. Like, don't get me wrong. There's been lots of people in my life that has actually given me advice. It's just, I'm not sure if it actually stays with me. Like, I take the advice and then I'm usually asking for advice on any given situation. Like, you gave me some advice when I was in like negotiations with a producer there a couple of months ago that I did wind up taking. But the thing is, I can't even parrot that advice back to you anymore. Exactly what your quote was. I remember, don't take money from fools, but I don't remember the second F or the third F. I don't know. What is it?
Friends, family, and fools.
There you go. So I remember fools. I didn't remember friends and family. So, we're asking for money on Patreon. So I guess
well, no. You can ask for money. The thing is you're most likely to receive money from friends, family, and fools.
There you go.
But don't take money from fools.
Okay, there you go. See, I remembered half of it. So,
there you go.
Yeah. But there's another one that my mom used to always tell me, and this one's kind of more like relationships, I guess friendships and stuff as well. It's just, she always said, like, don't go to bed angry. Because it's just the type of thing, you never know what's going to happen, like when that person leaves the door. So if you're fighting with somebody, usually try and work it out. Or if it's like a friend, like try not to let them leave. If you guys are actually in a big fight, like try and work things out. Which, I mean, I think about that often as well. But I mean, I still let my anger get the best of me most times. But working on that. But probably the one that stuck with me the most is just because of something that my dad's been saying forever, like since I've been, I don't know, probably back in grade 2 or 3. He's just always said, put your nose to the grindstone. And I don't even really know 100%, like if we break that down, exactly what it means, other than like, keep your head down, stay focused on something, work your hardest. But I think when he was telling me that, he was more so telling me about school and work. I don't know if he'd like my kind of how I've interpreted his saying of put your nose to the grindstone with the things I'm pursuing now. But I mean, I kind of take that advice and I apply it to, the writing or the editing for this podcast or anything. I just try and work my hardest and just try and get it done and over with and kind of power through it. So
yeah, and something I've been saying ever since that you've been, pursuing stuff within the arts, is I've never seen you work harder in the whole time I've known you. You know what I mean? But like, yeah. it's you got to pursue what you enjoy. And that's when you're going to start working hard. You're not going to be motivated to work hard if you're not doing something that you enjoy. If you walk through doors that you didn't want to walk through.
Ah, there you go.
Well, that come fucking full circle, didn't it?
Yeah, come on now. Go, Josh. Your turn.
Oh, for me? Well, I got a few. I kind of got a couple of one-liners.
You got a shitload of sayings. You should have some knowledge in there. Come on.
I don't know. I don't know if my sayings are really so much advice or if they're just a little bit of tantalization, a little bit of torment most of the time. But one that my father told me years ago, which has worked really, really well for me in the workplace, is a very simple one that makes a lot of sense. Is just trust but verify. So
good advice.
It's very in terms of like, react to what you're told, but sort of go and scope it out a little bit more. Don't take anything for face value, right?
I think I kind of live my life by that. So that's really good advice.
Trust, but verify. And, you know, another one that's pretty good is pick your friends, but not the pieces. So, you know, I try to pick my friends relatively selectively, but I try not to pull them apart too much. I chirps them every now and again when they fucking deserves it.
I was going to say, I don't know. You watch last week's podcast. There's a bit of ripping apart between you and I, but
Ham never complained. But no, in terms of that stuff, yeah, I just really think that one my father told me, trust but verify, has served me well over the years. Just in terms of being careful, don't dive into anything headlong first, right? But yeah, just make sure that everything is all lined up. Have your ducks in a row, type of deal, and be careful. Look out for yourself because no one else is going to fucking look out for you. That's for sure. But another good little piece of advice that one of the boys up from Goose Bay used to tell me all the time. He's an older feller. He's like an adopted pop, actually. But he always used to tell me, be good. And if you can't be good, be fucking careful. And if you can't be careful, don't name it after me. I bet you never heard that one in Montreal.
No, never heard. But my mother has said to my brothers on occasion, be drunk or be stupid, but don't be both.
Kind of goes package and parcel, though, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Can you be drunk without being stoned?
I don't know.
I don't think so, but maybe.
No,
unverified.
No, you cannot. But yeah, so what about you, Ham? What do you got for sayings? I'm sure your grandfather had a few good ones for you.
I don't know if he has advice, more just
he had
like
loads to say to me about fire extinguishers when I was back in Goose Bay.
Oh my Christ. Yeah, he's got a lot to say about fire extinguishers, but in terms of advice, I don't think I've had much like relevant advice to my life. Honestly.
Okay.
But
well, what would be your own spin? It doesn't have to be like as eloquent as what Grace said over there. Like it doesn't have to come out of a poem.
Hey, that's not on me. That's Miss Nadler.
What, you
She's
remembered it? That's half the fucking battle.
Well,
right
yeah,
there.
because it was good advice.
So what would you piece together in words if you had to like impart your knowledge on someone? What would be something you'd kind of say?
If I had to impart my knowledge on someone?
Yeah. How would you word a saying to someone and be like, listen, this is what you should do or what you should not do, and this is why?
You know what? I'm not sure. Probably if I had to like tell advice to like myself like at like 15, it'd probably be don't chase things to impress people.
Oh, that's good advice.
Otherwise wouldn't care, and focus on doing things for yourself and the people you actually care about and the people that stick around. I feel like that's some good advice.
That's a good one.
Myself.
That's a good one, William Clark, 2019. There you go.
Yeah.
That's an excellent piece of advice.
Never go ass to mouth, unless in the heat of the moment.
Oh, that's
Kevin
great.
Smith.
Probably another good piece of advice.
I love that one. Yeah, that's like written in stone, though, isn't it? That's like comes over from ancient Egyptian times. Like that's an old like Confucius saying.
I was actually going to ask you because I was like, I wonder if you have any sayings from movies or television that resonated with you, because I know you used to watch a lot as a kid. So I was wondering like if there's like a Fast and Furious quote or something you live your life by, a quarter mile at the time, or something like that.
No, I don't take any Vin Diesel one-liners to heart, but
all right.
But no, I don't have too much like great advice, but no, that's the best I got.
All right.
That's kind.
Okay. So now we know what the advice is that you've, lived your lives by so far. Ham, what have you got for us this evening?
All right. So this is going to be another turn back into the dark, apparently. I wanted to know what Dark Lord you guys would serve given the chance. There'd be benefits, and like it could be fictional, like a Sith Lord or Voldemort or any of that stuff. I don't care. Or it could be like it could be Satan if you really wanted to be.
Great.
All right, so we got a wide variety of options to choose from. Is what you're saying?
You have a plethora of Dark Lords to choose from. And if I was gonna choose a Dark Lord, it would definitely be a Sith Lord. It'd probably be.
It's because you only deal in absolutes.
Exactly. It'd probably be Vader because,
for fuck's sake, Sam.
obviously. I want to be trained by the best.
So there's the rule of 2, so only one of you guys can serve Vader. I hope you know that.
Oh,
We don't need that kind of negativity on this fucking podcast, by the way.
As we're talking about the Dark Lord.
So Vader.
You know, I would definitely want that kind of Sith training. I think if that was an option, and like if I didn't get that option, I could just I could be a stormtrooper. I think I wouldn't be happy with that, but I'd be like
You
I'd be
walk
content.
way too slowly to be a stormtrooper. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's true. Not when I'm on the escalator. I'll push motherfuckers over. I don't give a shit.
He's quickly descending to the dark side, as you can tell. Fuck, the transformation's complete. Well, I can't believe you totally stole my answer to this, Ham.
Well, why were you going to pick Vader then?
I was going to pick Vader for a couple of different reasons. One, just because he's Jim Earl Jones' voice. Like, besides Mufasa, that is like
He does have a great voice.
Yeah, he has an excellent voice, right? And that is pretty much what everyone remembers him for. But same thing, he's just a powerful fucking guy, right? He's probably one of the greatest villains of all time, really. And he has that great redemption arc in the stories, too, which I just love.
Very rushed arc, but yes, there is a redemption arc there.
But it's good. But anyways.
Throws an old man off a cliff. He's absolved of his sins.
Yes, he is. But in terms of that, yeah, I thought that was going to be my answer, but I did plan for a backup. And my backup Dark Lord that I would serve would be Saruman, not Sauron, from Lord of the Rings. And the reason I chose Saruman is because he's more of a personable character than just a big Jesus Vogue optical eye up in a tower, right? There's a little bit more personality involved in there, and you get to see him sort of fall from grace because he's up there with Gandalf and the boys, right? In the beginning, and the boys, yeah, and the other crowd. But anyways, you see his fall from grace, and you see him like get really evil, and that is just a very dark character, and he wields a lot of power, man. Like in the
spins Gandalf around the room and throws him up in the sky.
Yeah, exactly right. And then he's trapped down there till the fucking butterfly shows up. And that's like another thing. Just get something to fly in and pick him up, and off you go. You can defeat everything. But anyways, no, I would definitely go with Saruman. Very powerful character. I think it's Christopher Plummer that plays that role. Is it
Christopher Lee?
Is it Christopher Lee?
Can I cut in
Go
for a
ahead.
second? We do get to see Vader's turn to the dark side, but it's
Don't say it.
disappointing.
Don't say it.
It's disappointing.
That weakens the character. It certainly doesn't strengthen it. Yeah. Anyways, keep going. Saruman.
But no, yeah, Saruman basically to me was just he's a far more in-depth character. I really liked him. I thought the actor did a really good job, and he controls a giant ass orc army. Like, come on, man! Like that is scary as fuck. You don't want
that's
that
pretty
coming towards
badass.
you. Yeah, exactly. So that would be my Dark Lord. I want to be on that team. I want to be on Team Saruman. Let's fuck up Middle Earth and take her over, right? What about yourself? I know you got something for this.
Yeah, I was really split on this. I didn't know who to choose. I thought of Sauron right away first, but I remember at the end of that, if you serve Sauron, the earth just opens up and swallows like all the evil, basically. If you're going by the movies and the books, I don't think that's what happens, but in the movies, just swallows up everyone, so you die. And I was like, well, it's kind of a shitty ending. I'm very split because I don't know if I thought of Xerxes from 300, and the reason I thought of him was because if you remember, like the hunchback dude, like the Quasimodo looking guy, just how like terrible he is, and like no one respects him. He should be like trodden on, but what Xerxes does, he lifts him up.
Rises him up.
Yeah,
Yep.
he gives him all this gold. He gives him
So
all
he's-
these women. He's doing drugs.
He's
He's
a good
leading
guy.
an army. Yeah, he's like he raises him up. So I was like, if I was working for Xerxes, maybe he'd raise me up too. I'm not half as bad as that.
As destitute.
Yeah, as that hunchback dude. So maybe he'd raise me up higher. I don't know. Or maybe I'd be one of the guys carrying his stairs. I'm not sure.
You never know.
But then the other one I thought of was Ganondorf.
Oh,
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with Ganondorf, he's just the big bad from the Zelda games. And I was kind of thinking, I couldn't remember if he turns townspeople into like the pig monsters.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he uses just dark magic to conjure them, right? So then I was starting to think of like, okay, well, if I had to be a kind of a puppet of Ganondorf, there are characters in those video games that they're kind of like possessed or controlled by Ganondorf, and they're controlled by him just until Link comes and saves the day. Usually, 100 years or 20 years, whatever it is, depending on which game you're playing. And then as soon as Ganon's defeated, you go back to your life. You don't even remember what happened. So it wouldn't be that bad. I guess you'd just lose 10, 20 years of your life. So I was
Kind of like having Alzheimer's or something.
I guess.
Bit of
yeah.
dementia.
Yeah, I guess so. I was just kind of thinking that wouldn't be too bad. At least I don't get swallowed up by Middle Earth or. I don't know what happens to the Hunchback guy in 300 anymore. Do you guys remember? Does he die?
I think he just runs off.
Well, there you go. I mean, maybe that would be the
The
better.
last you see him, he's shacking up with a couple of good-looking girls.
I mean, that's not a bad way to go.
No, that's not a bad way to go at all. And he got his nice shield, right?
All right, I'm with Xerxes.
Solid shield, very solid, full out of gold. He can't lift it very high because his arm is restricted. But aside from that, he did well.
But
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He did good.
My issue with it was, is he a Dark Lord? Xerxes. Most people don't even know who that is.
Yes.
Do you?
Well,
yes, because in 300 they play him out to be a god, right?
Oh, you're right.
He is
yeah.
the god king. So yes, I would definitely count him amongst being a Dark Lord for
Okay.
sure. 100%.
Well, I'll go with Xerxes then. I mean, shout out to Ganon. That
Shout out to my
big
homie.
he
boy.
was Ojus too. Like he was huge.
Yeah.
He
Who?
was like Xerxes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Ganon. I was like, yeah, he's a big pig. Of course.
Yeah,
He's big.
yeah, but Xerxes. I mean,
Yeah.
he's like alien. He's like 10
He's
foot
very
or
tall.
something.
And yeah. But Grace, who would you serve, your Dark Lord?
Okay, so I've got kind of two answers to this. When I first read the question, I thought it said, "What Dark Lord do you serve?" Like currently.
I'm still waiting
what
for
is
that
it?
answer, by the way.
So the first thing that came to mind was anxiety.
Oh my God.
So, and then I'm gonna follow this up with a kind of a different spin on the question, a different interpretation of the question. But that is something that has always been like the dark cloud over my life, is like
I feel
hanging on
that.
is anxiety, right? So it's just kind
blessed.
of right, and that was why I kind of said like, for this one, I don't really want to be first. I don't really want to be last when I'm talking about
shit.
mine. Oh, that's fine. No, just because I was like, that's really gonna change the
a
topic
bummer, yeah.
of the conversation. So I do have a follow-up so we don't end on a sad note. But no, it's definitely something that like is always been definitely a darkness and definitely always lorded over me. So I just kind of thought like that was a very honest answer.
breaking my heart over here. Jesus, give it up. bud.
It's,
Come over to Team Saruman. Get away from Team Anxiety.
I mean, Xerxes isn't too bad.
But so I'm sure what you guys expected me to say was something from the Harry Potter universe. Probably what you were thinking.
I was thinking, but I wasn't sure if you'd betray like the good guys in the Harry Potter
no, see, that's the
universe.
thing.
That was the thing.
My other thing with the phrasing of the question, and something that really made me think about it, particularly when you were giving your answer, Josh, was the difference between serving a Dark Lord versus following a Dark Lord. You know what I mean? Like
I got you.
like Josh, your description was far more following than serving. Like to me, serving means like giving up something. So I'm hard pressed to think of a Dark Lord that I would willingly serve. You know what I mean? But I think in terms of following, who I would most likely be, I'm going to say, tricked or cajoled into following, would definitely be, and please keep in mind, I thought this movie was absolutely an abomination, was Grindelwald from The Crimes of Grindelwald.
I'm still not over the Johnny Depp revealing that. I remember watching it, and I watched it late. Like, I watched it years after it came out, and I remember the whole movie. I just was used to this guy, this hair slicked back fella, right? This
Colin Farrell, and he was great in that
and
movie.
I was watching it, and then all of a sudden he starts going white, and his face starts widening out, right? And I was like, "What the fuck is happening? Like, what is going on?" And I remember I texted him at the time. I was like, Jesus Christ, what kind of spell is that? He turned it into Johnny Depp. And I didn't know at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say Jupiter Ascending. And
Oh my gosh.
I was like,
is there a Dark Lord in that?
Eddie Redmayne, he leads those reptile
man.
people. I was like, that would be a terrible
Eddie
Dark Lord.
Redmayne.
But yeah.
Can you
Anyways,
imagine?
Grindelwald.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought the first Fantastic Beasts, I really, really enjoyed it, but The Crimes of Grindelwald was absolutely terrible.
You haven't seen
It
that
was-
one, right?
No, I have not.
It was
Don't.
not good, no. But if you do watch it, one thing that you will probably notice, I'm not recommending you watch it. It was
I
incredibly
hated the first one, so yeah.
It was
Go ahead.
incredibly disappointing. Was basically, so you have this Johnny Depp character, Grindelwald, and he's amassing all of these followers, right? And of course, he's, like this silver-tongued, person who can, basically brainwash all these people into following him because he makes everything sound so good, right? And he's, trying to convince everyone that, this will result in peace. And if you come to me and all this kind of stuff. And he's very convincing. I think like the arguments that he makes, you can see why people follow him versus like a lot of other things. Like, I don't think I was ever convinced by a Sith character in any of the Star Wars movies.
I'm going to fight that there. All of your negative emotions, like anxiety,
that's true.
could transfer over into having more
Into
Sith power.
Yeah, you'd be powerful.
That's a good point.
You would be a god.
Unlimited power.
That's true. I could, yeah. But no, but I don't think, yeah.
Good.
But like, I don't think there's ever anything there that would draw me to that. And just like, someone from Lord of the Rings couldn't draw me to that. I wasn't really familiar with either of the characters you were discussing, but the way that he frames his, evil genocidal take over the world type plan, he frames it very like in a search for peace and positivity. And I'm not saying that his goal was good by any means, but I can see why people got convinced. You know what I mean? And I think of the Dark Lords that I am aware of, that's the only one that could sway me. Now, do I think I would serve him? Do I think I would go out and murder people to be on his good side? No, but I can see if it was like in a political type situation, I would look to Grindelwald, basically.
Yeah, he was a very good orator, just like some other Dark Lords throughout history.
That's exactly.
I was wondering if there's a Hitler allegory.
Oh
going
yeah,
on.
absolutely. That's
okay,
the whole,
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a team Potter, not a team Frodo, I'm assuming. You're a much bigger fan of Harry Potter than you are Lord of the Rings?
I'm a huge Harry Potter fan,
because
embarrassingly so.
Disgusting.
She's afraid of Gollum.
Oh, I'm terrified of Gollum.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, terrified.
Really?
Yeah. So when I was reading the books as a child, I think I was in grade 5 when I was reading them, I got halfway through the second book and had to stop because Gollum was way too scary.
Smeagol's fine, boy. Don't worry about it. Smeagol's the best kind.
And then I remember when I went to go see the first movie, I was very scared because I knew Gollum was going to be in it and I was already scared of him. And I think it was like PG-13 or something and I wasn't 13 yet. But my friend really wanted to see it. And I was like, oh, please turn us away. Please turn us away. Please turn us away. And they didn't turn us away. And I went and I had nightmares for a week. So,
really?
Oh, yeah.
And he's barely in the first
I know,
one.
but he was terrifying.
I thought you were talking
Fellowship,
about the second one.
No, Fellowship,
all you
he's
see is
barely
like
in it. His
eyes
eyes
and his silhouette, and that's enough for me.
it's literally him peering over a rock or something.
I think that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like exiting a cave and he climbs across the top. I think
Oh, Grace, you got to give that another watch. I mean, that's
I've
some
seen
great
them.
stuff.
I've seen them.
Oh, okay.
But
And you're still a Potter fan?
oh yeah.
Well, boys, that's it for the week.
But yeah, so yeah, those were my thoughts on the
Dark
phrasing
Lord.
of your Dark Lord question.
It's a clever out for sure there, yeah.
Cool.
No, I think that sums it up. No, I like that answer, but I'm just gonna comment. I was more scared of like how thick that the token book was, more so than
Yeah.
how scary it was. But like, yeah, I was scared of big books when I was a little kid.
Says the kid who used to always read Terry Pratchett. Those were some big books, the Sword of Truth ones. But anyways.
Yeah. I got over that, but like,
Yeah.
it was like 5 when I first tried to read Lord of the Rings.
Well,
Might be a little young for Lord of the Rings.
yeah. I mean, especially with all that description, they're not exactly page turners, but yeah. But anyways, I guess I'll go next. I'm the only one left, right? Yeah. So, yeah, my topic. I was just like, did we forget Josh? No.
Oh, no.
You started off.
Never forgot me.
All right, yeah. But what I picked this week was just, what did you want to be when you grow up? So you can choose the normal answer of like, what did you want to be? Like, what occupation? Or you just be like, I don't know, a helicopter. I don't know. Some kids have that answer. But before I wanted to be like a writer or a writer-director, I wanted to be a surgeon. And before a surgeon, I wanted to be a marine biologist. And before a marine biologist, I still think it's my true calling.
To be a dinosaur.
Nope. A swamp tour guide.
Up to your arse and alligators. I can see you now down there in Louisiana.
It was Louisiana. So I went to Louisiana when I was 5 with my mom and my little brother. And when we were down there, we went on a swamp tour guide. Or a swamp tour, I guess. And there was a tour guide. Lost.
No, we got it.
Oh my God.
Go ahead.
But anyways, when we went down there, we went on a swamp tour. And we were just going through the swamp and they brought out a little alligator. And I remember getting to hold the little alligator and just the swamp tour guide Just brought the alligator around, showed everyone, and then he went and he fed some huge alligators. I was like, this is the coolest job ever. And I remember when
pretty dope.
yeah, and I remember when I went back to Goose Bay, I told my dad about how much I wanted to be a swamp tour guide, and he kind of let it go for a couple of years. And I remember, oh yes, I wanted to be a swamp tour guide for a while. I think it was maybe in like 2000 or 2001. I think I was somewhere around there. I remember saying I still wanted to be a swamp tour guide. And I can't remember if it was my dad or my grandfather at the time, but he just straight up told me, you can't be a swamp tour guide. And I remember being like, why? Because there's nothing to guide up here in Goose Bay. Like, what are you going to guide here? Like, just go through the bogs. There's nothing to point out. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll move for it. And then the counter to that was, swamp tour guides make no money. You'll just be broke. So I was dealt a very hard hand that day, and I had to pivot because I just didn't know what else to be. So then I was just thinking, well, I like animals at the time. I was just a big animal person. I mean, I've certainly changed, I think, over the years in that regard, but I was a huge animal person back then. And so they were like, oh, well, be a marine biologist. And then I learned they don't make much money either. And then I pivoted some more.
How crushed were you, though, when that first dream came out? Like, if I can't be a swamp tour guide, I guess I'll just be fucking miserable, I guess, you know?
Well, that was the thing. I was like, I want to be a swamp tour guide. And they're like, okay, well, you like, these creatures that they're kind of in the swamp and the water. Why don't you do something like marine biology? And then I looked at it and there was no alligators involved. I was like, this is terrible. I was like, okay, well, sharks are kind of cool, I guess, or no.
Now you're compromising. See, and that's what happens in life. You end up compromising and diluting the dream.
I don't understand how I never wanted to be a paleontologist.
I'm kind of surprised you never wanted to be a dinosaur.
I can't remember wanting to be a dinosaur. Maybe my dad told me straight up I can't be a dinosaur really early.
Someone who wanted to be a dinosaur.
Oh, yes, we did.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Oh no.
We good.
Yeah, but anyways, I wanted to be a swamp tour guide, and
wow,
I'm still not one.
That's great, though. I love that answer. That's such a childhood response too, right? There's all those dreams all pent up, just being like, oh yeah, I want to play with alligators all day.
It was so cool. Mm-hmm. What did you want to be when you grow up?
Well, if you ask my mother, the first thing I wanted to be was a dump truck. Which is,
perfect answer.
That was off the table after age 18, right? So you couldn't keep playing on that one. But no, the first thing I really remember wanting to be, I wanted to be Steve Irwin's personal assistant.
Oh, yeah. Very, very, very similar to my own, actually. Like, so, loving Steve Irwin.
For any of you that have been living under a rock and don't know who Steve Irwin is, it's
shame.
It's just a quick YouTube video where you'll see a guy in khaki shorts dancing around something dangerous and going, danger, 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 and almost getting eaten every time. But yeah, that's Steve Irwin. That is my childhood hero for sure. Like, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I'm pretty sure it's yours, too.
Oh, yeah. I love Steve Irwin. Mm-hmm. I mean, he starred in a movie that Grace isn't a big fan of, but,
yeah.
I made her watch.
Crocodile Hunter Collision Course.
Excellent film.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, I wanted to be his personal assistant. I wanted to be, like, running around, putting the top
holding the net.
I wanted to, like, knot the top jaw rope, the famous top jaw rope that you got to get on the crack before you put it in the wood box.
What about
I wanted to learn how to do that.
What about being one of the 6 guys that has to jump on the crock to keep
jump on? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I would have done anything. Like, that was. I remember telling my parents growing up, I was like, I want to go to the Australia, or at the time I think it was called the Sunshine Zoo. Take me there, please. Fuck Disneyland. I don't care about that. Let's go to the Sunshine Zoo. Never happened, sadly. And I'll never get a chance to meet him now. So talk about waking up cold, right?
Did they foster that dream of becoming Steve Irwin's personal assistant, or did they just kind of kill it, or they just let it run its course?
Like most things that my father said, it was probably like a good phone call between me and Dad is like a minute 30 at the most. and it's probably about like, yes, boy, very good. Well, we'll see what happens to once. Something like that. We'll see what happens. Very good. Just well to get your education though while you're at it. That'd probably be something Dad would say, right?
Yeah.
But no, I don't know if they fostered it or not because it was so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was pretty much the dream, man. After that, normal life kind of kicked in. And
do you remember what job you wanted to do, like following that?
Coming out of high school, I know I wanted to have my own business. That was probably the closest I ever came to being like, that's what I'm going to school for. Went to university for that. Found out real fucking fast that university is a place where dreams die when it comes to wanting to do something and actually being able to do the courses to do it. So yeah, that turned me from that. So yeah, aside from that was probably the last time I was 100% set. Mm-hmm. Now I think like all of us, I'm just sort of like, well, I'm willing to try anything. I'll do this, and if it's good, so be it. That's sort of how I ended up where I'm to now, and so far so good. So we'll see how that unfolds, right? What about you, Ham?
Now, I always wanted to do art. Now, it started off as like visual art. I was always drawing as a kid. You know, little like sketching out Kirby's with Colton over here, or
You were always drawing and always drawing what you were drawing, but slightly faster. I'd be looking over, see what Ham was sketching, be like, all right, I can draw it a little bit faster because I'm copying him here now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very meticulous with my drawing and art, and
Very good.
that was but it kind of capped out at like drawing anime titties, so like I stopped there.
You drew a fine pair, though.
they were a great pair of anime titties, don't get me wrong. But that kind of like transferred over into wanting to be a musician afterwards. I always like
I can draw the correlation, anime titties to
Anime
musician.
titties and art by art.
but like just I always wanted to pursue art in some form or like be creative. So that's pretty much what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to do even this fulfills like some creative outlet for me. So
Good.
I guess I'm living the dream, sort of.
Sort of.
Well, you're taking a stab at it, if nothing else, right? I mean,
Giving it a shot, yeah.
give it a shot, and if it goes somewhere, so be it. If not, fuck, at least you had a laugh while you were doing it. What odds?
Next time we have some audio issues, I'll say, Ham, it's your dream. Come on. Get in here.
Stir your stumps. Get in here.
Grace, what did you want to be when you grow up?
Well, the first thing that I remember, other than, I remember very young having assignments. What do you want to be when you grow up? And, it was choosing something more impressive than someone else, basically. Well, you're going to be prime minister? Well, I'm going to be an astronaut. You know what I mean? Like there was all, the one-upmanship, basically. But I remember in grade 6, it was probably a little bit earlier than grade 6, wanting to be a writer. That's what I wanted to do. And then, kind of, talked to my mom about it. And she kind of explained, like not everybody just gets paid to write books. Like, that's a hard thing to do. And it's not like a 9-to-5 job that's guaranteed income. And I was like, okay, so
Mommy doesn't want you to be poor speech. Yeah. Okay.
so then, I always, basically went between different types of jobs that involved writing. So then I figured, okay, journalism is something that I want to do. Then I took a couple journalism courses once I got to Cégep and basically was like, I don't really think I could do this. I don't think, particularly because like the courses that we were taking, a lot of like the news writing and stuff like that, feature articles, we were looking at pretty sad situations in which the journalists would have to go in.
It's like if you swipe, left on the iPhone, you get all those news stories.
Yeah. I
just all sad.
I remember really specifically. So the Cégep that I went to was Dawson College, which if you remember, they had that school shooting that was probably in 2006, I'm going to guess, because it was just a couple years before I went there. So when I was in my feature writing class, some of the, stories that we were looking at were about the shooting. You know what I mean? So you're reading these stories that are like objectively excellent stories, incredibly well written. And I will never forget reading the line about the journalist sitting there and watching someone on the custodial staff mopping up blood. You know what I mean? And I was like, I could never do that. I could never write these kinds of stories. Kind of the same thing of, people used to always say, I think you'd be a good psychologist because you always listen to people's problems. I'm like, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could separate my life from my work. I'm the kind of person who...
Take it home with you.
Yeah, I don't work to live. I live to work. I'm one of those people. So I was like, I don't know if I could do that. And so that was when I kind of realized what I wanted to do was editing. I'd been writing for a very long time, a lot of creative writing since I was, in about grade 6. None of it was terribly good. And I remembered, and I always remembered I preferred going back and reworking what I already had. And I really loved helping other people with what they were writing. And so I figured, okay, editing, that's the goal. And you said university is where dreams go to die.
Oh, yes.
I kind of had
first year usually.
I kind of had the opposite experience because through my schooling, I got the opportunity to work in 2 capacities as an editor. One at a small local publishing house in Montreal, Really, really enjoyed it. And then another one at Iser Books, which is Munn's publishing house, as a part-time student working there. Really enjoyed both opportunities, and I loved it. Graduated, have had a hard time finding a job, ended up working in translation and copywriting. So I did get to work in writing, and I really enjoyed the work that I was doing there. It was a lot of fun. The stuff that I would write, basically, I worked for a clothing company, so describing clothes all day. Which it seems kind of ridiculous.
I always found it funny that you enjoyed doing it, but
I
mean, that straight up is just writing. Like, yeah,
it is. And so I remember a friend of mine asking me basically, like, for an example, like, what do you do? Or, you would get some ridiculous piece of clothing come across your desk, and he would say, like, what on earth do you write about this? Like, what can you write about this sequined dress that has, floral applique, all this nonsense? And so you just rattle off some nonsense like, this sparkly floral number looks great for a night out on the town. Pair it with some heels and you've got a going out outfit or something like that. And he was like, wow, so your job is just bullshitting all day. And I said, yeah, it is. But it's
excellent.
But it was fun.
No wonder you win at Balderdash.
But it was fun. And so I've since changed jobs. I got the opportunity to work at the university, and my goal is to always, go back to school and stuff like that. So it was an opportunity that was too good to pass up. But I don't think it's out of the question that I'll get back into doing that. So I don't really want to say like that I achieved my childhood dream, because I never published a book or anything like that. But I definitely got to do a lot of what I wanted to do. So I'm pretty happy with that.
That's excellent. And unless it's cool that you can even draw some correlation between, I think I might not be 100% there, but I got a piece of my childhood dream. Whereas for me, unless Newfoundland migrates across the Atlantic Ocean and joins on to Australia, it ain't fucking happening. Unless that died years ago.
Unless you grow wheels and become a dump truck.
Well, that's what I'm
2019, you never know.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, I got my English degree. I don't know if that's going to help me out with my swamp tour guiding. Like,
No,
I don't know.
right.
Probably, you might be able to speak better than most of them down there doing the swamp tour guide, but yeah, I guess that's it. Nothing else to say about childhood dreams. So we're your last podcast. I'm Colton.
I'm Josh.
I'm Will.
I'm Grace.
Shy William.
And we'll be back with a new episode next week and every week after that until our last. So thank you for watching.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.